What is happening, savages? This is Immortal Coil, your future minister of whiskey mysticism. Revolution is my name. You are listening to The Savage Perspective, the show that smells like bacon, tastes like bourbon, and sounds like the gentle rapping upon the cervix door. As always, we greet you with a healthy smile and a drought of your favorite. So I'm going to go ahead and start the can. Today I'm drinking Irish Death, my favorite. One of several droughts that sort of taste like coffee, but remind you of the way Guinness should be. So raise them high. Sound off, salud, like you got a pair. Well, I want to take a moment and say hello, felicitations, salutations, greetings, and general welfare to you who might be catching this live or you who might be listening to this upon the replay. Either way, you're welcome, and let us begin this July 15th, 2020 edition of The Savage Perspective. We want to kind of start this off on a light note. I found this on my Twitter feed somewhere. We have this dude. Red Dog 71 Media. I first saw it on his status, so I want to give him a shout out, although he's not the originator of such. He just happened to find something particularly entertaining. We're going to go ahead and blow this up. Boom. And boom. This is something called Social Justice Warriors for your own personal entertainment. All right, so we want to be sure that we're hailing Dog Reviews. That's the first place where I saw this kind of thing. And we also have to say, well, let's go ahead and get back into this so that we can see this. The Social Justice Warriors. This is one of the things that the Fandom Menace in particular have been trying to point out, in the sense that, well, if your feelings are hurt, or if you're a minority, or if you're negatively reviewing something that a virtue signal has put out as product, then you deserve to be thumped upon by these social justice warriors. I'm going to take a moment to say, hail, Random Brad Creator, who is hailing us as we are hailing him. Hail, hail. Hail, hail, rock and roll. Thanks for joining us, sir. And this is just a silly sort of witticism. This is the state of affairs of human society at this point. We are dealing with an election year, my friends and fellow savages. Come November, we're actually going to either see this thing heartily erect itself with angry veins, or we're going to see this thing sheepishly shrink away from the challenge, very dry and unfulfilled. Only you can tell, so get out and vote, motherfuckers. Well, so I want to greet each and every one of you guys. I hope everybody's week has been going well. I've been doing pretty good. I actually took a chance to fuck off to the woods for a little while, for a much needed reprise. And it's one of those things where you spend your day in a city or doing city shit or doing shitty shit that you would rather not do, but you force yourself to because hungry mouths and boredom and all that kind of stuff. Perhaps you like your job. That's also good too. But I think that as natural beings, we crave nature from time to time, and we want to go and stick our spine against a tree and dig our feet into the soil and jump into a lake and take a natural bath instead of one of these shower-like contraptions that people create. Also in the chat, we got Shellback TJC, my fellow Washingtonian, one of the few Fandom Menacers that I've met in real life. So, hail, Shellback. Appreciate that. And just the necessity just to take yourself out of your headspace, take yourself out of your phone, take yourself out of your PC, and go and do something like walk your shovel in the woods. When's the last time you buried your shit? Well, we like to start the show off on a light note. Want to go ahead and hail Patrick Stewart and Harrison Ford. And I should say Sir Patrick Stewart. Funnily enough, they share the same birthday, July 13th. Now, obviously, Patrick Stewart is a senior. Harrison Ford is a junior. But we both know them from one of our favorite, two of our favorite sci-fi franchises. Harrison Ford, of course, is our favorite space pirate, our favorite scoundrel, our favorite piece of shit, who did not deserve to be stabbed through the heart. And Patrick Stewart, of course, is the intrepid captain of captains, the man who taught me morals and self-respect and honor and duty, aside from Worf, in a sci-fi franchise, who was also wrongly placed into a robot body because he could not face his manhood in a modern franchise. What the fuck, people? Start a solid career by talking to this woman right here. We're going to go ahead and shut that down. No offense to the Army. My peak of the Army was probably a Sir, not even Sir, MacArthur and Patton, who stopped to piss in the Rhine River. Yeah. So it's their birthday. So hail these two fine actors who brought us, who portrayed great storytelling when they could. When they could. Well, all right. The next thing that we like to do is kind of check in and see how events are unfolding in the Fandom Menace. Now, if you don't know the Fandom Menace and for some reason you can't read This is a movement that was started by the fans in reaction to poor entertainment and a lack of courtesy to our common modern mythologies. Okay. One of the first people that I found in the Fandom Menace was a gentleman called Mahler. And Mahler created a masterpiece, probably, geez, one of the resounding bullets heard around the world about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Well, Mahler has been tireless in his duties, as it were. And he's one of these guys, like he takes a long time, not because he's not thoughtful or full of ideas. It's just that he has a respect for the precision of the English language. And if you ever listen to Mahler, Mahler is one of these guys that, had he not been born an angry sci-fi fan, he could have easily been a presenter on the BBC. He has one of those buttery voices that I fear for the women in his country. But what has Mahler been up to lately? Well, I'll show you. Mahler has presented a critique following his unbridled rage. He has presented the third part of his Force Awakens critique, released just 5 days ago. 5 days. And here's one of these things, you guys. Like, I only jump on the hook. I only jump on your jock twice a week. This is my news dump. You know, I go out to the Jack Shack and I take a deuce of news and I try to present the things that are of interest. Mahler, part 3 was 5 days ago. His last one was 1 year ago. But look, 1.2 million views on part 2. Part 3, 5 days, 290,000 views. Mahler is one of these motherfuckers that I look up to. And when I first started fooling around with the idea of starting a YouTube channel, Mahler was one of those guys that did it right in my estimation. And although he is adjacent to the Fandom Menace, you know, he hasn't like full on shown the logo or any of that stuff, but he has had many a Fandom Menacer guest star on his show, EFAP, which if you can catch it, go ahead. And if you can't, then fuck off. Pause this thing, because I know you're listening to this at work. Go listen to Mahler, and I'll wait for you to come back. So yeah, Mahler, a critique of Star Wars: The Force Awakens Part 3, ripped to its very gizzards, if it has one. If it has one. Well, hell yeah. I want to go ahead and thank Shellback and Random Brad for sticking around. Go ahead and share the link. And then if not, then this is just going to be like a very private thing between us. We have a couple more stories. We got the 20th anniversary of the X-Men cinema. Now, way back in 2000, it was probably filmed in 1998. We saw Immortal Coil and Gandalf the Grey facing off towards one another. And I'm very proud to announce today, July 15th, 2020, that your Immortal Coil action figure is available now from Hasbro. For the price of $29.95. You can order it from Amazon. It looks just like me. If you want to have one of Immortal Coil on your shelf, I mean, I can pretty much make that face. Yeah. So when I get famous enough, I actually hope to have a like a Patreon or some sort of membership where maybe I will buy one of these and sign them and send them out to you. Now it would be a little bit more expensive than $29.95. I'd probably charge like, I don't know, 10, 15 bucks more, but I would sign it and pretend like I was actually the dude who was represented by this. But the by Jesse Sheehan, 14 July 2020, not too long ago. The idea is that because it's been 20 years, they're releasing these film accurate characters as much as they can be. Now you can see by the joint articulation, there's certain places where these figures have to articulate. Logan is probably easiest to hide all that because you can see here by Magneto, the thoracic area has to be bendable. You can see that his arm sockets and his elbows and his wrists, they all have to twist. It's easy to hide that inside of a jacket. What's not so easy to hide, I have to blow this thing up a little bit. What's not so easy to hide is well, Professor X, he's able to sit down. That's not what I'm talking about. What I want to talk about is, all right, you guys are all sexy, Mystique. Now, Mystique, if you guys know who Rebecca Romijn is, if I have to explain who Rebecca Romijn is, I would like to have you rewind to your puberty, ask it to please smack you in the face, and then look at this. Okay, this is all right. This is Mystique in her blister packaging. Aside from her, I was trying to zoom in, and then I created a terrible mistake. So let's go ahead and fast forward once again. Now, instead of attempting to zoom in, what I'm going to do is ask you guys to carefully consider this face. Is this Rebecca Romijn's face? I mean, if you cover up her face and just look at the rest of her, yeah, that's Rebecca Romijn. Yeah, that's her. But she looks a little too masculine. Look at the brow. Okay. Look at the chin. She's got the butt chin. Not quite feminine enough in that shot. This one's a little bit better, but I don't think it bears the same resemblance to... I'm going to go ahead and turn on my camera as somebody who might bear some resemblance to the character in question. But Rebecca Romijn, does she look like this? Does she? Okay. Does she pass for a posable action figure? A little bit. Now, I think it's kind of hard to articulate female hips because they're so remarkable, aren't they? Female hips. The best way that they could figure how to do this is to shove the the ball and socket way up inside the inguinal right here. You got some twistable action. You got remarkable details on the scales. I will give her that, but okay, you have this attachable arm that's kind of shape shifting. You got a twistable torso. Her boobs go one way and her belly button points a different way. Her butt kind of points in a natural direction, but here's where you can see. This is a pretty good pose. This kind of reminds me of the Senator Kelly abduction scene. Okay, you see that she comes with 3 different arm poses, pluggable arms. And then, of course, Wolverine. So here's what I'm trying to say. Look at the detail on the face. Okay. I don't know if this is the fault of the machines or the sculptors or whatever the fuck, but she doesn't look very feminine or as attractive as Rebecca Romijn looks. But when you consider Wolverine, okay, this looks just like Hugh fucking Jackman. This looks just like Hugh fucking Jackman. This looks remarkably like him. This ain't like, I'd give this maybe a 7 out of 10. It doesn't look exactly like him. But why was greater care taken with the cast of the face of Wolverine? Well, perhaps because Wolverine was the star of the film. And that's not to shit on the performance of Rebecca Romijn. Rebecca Romijn very good point. And I want to fault the presses, the casts, the designers. The only kind of bullshit I want to call is on this hairstyle, because you want his hair to be a little bit more pokey. But I could probably live with that. He's got the little, like, in real life, it's really hard to pull this off. Unless you want to use like punk rock sort of, Liberty Spike material. So yeah, that's your Immortal Coil action figure. You can get that from Amazon.com. And you can catch Immortal Coil on Wednesdays and Sundays. You can also check Gender Check. It's a very good show. We want to go ahead and head back to the chat. Hail Snowdub Music and Entertainment. My brother from another. This ice cold motherfucker will chill your bone with stories of titillation and pure dicking around. Is that a good commercial? Are you going to use that on your channel, Snowdub? I don't know. I would hope so. Snowdub is one of those guys that he's a fellow Seattleite. He deserves your attention. Not everybody agrees with his viewpoint, and not everybody actually wants to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. But you know what? Your friends are who they are. Your friends are the people who have been with you, who have seen action, who have stood by you. And if you're gonna judge somebody based on your associations, I would say talk to the person. You know, what are they threatened of? If you're gonna come after me for my friend, I'm not responsible for my friend's mouth. Talk to my friend. I'm gonna stand next to him, of course. Yeah. Hail trans fat. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So now that we're on the topic of action figures, my shelf is sorely lacking. Okay. I saw this the other day. And this is Hasbro saying that it has announced the largest ever figure in its Marvel Legends action figure line, but they're crowdfunding in order to have the funds to manufacture it. Well, what the fuck? Has Hasbro finally found out that it's better to advertise directly to your fan base instead of manufacturing 100,000 shitty robots? Have we finally found out that if you take this, what is this? I want to say it's a 6-inch Wolverine, but ideally it should be a 5-inch Wolverine, and pit it against a 26.3-inch Sentinel figure. Oh, it is a 6-inch. All right, you fuckers and your mass molds. Okay, you have something that is your regular action figure, and then you have something that's like, geez, over 4 times, 6 times its size. Okay, this is the kind of bedroom that I wish I could have completed. Eat, Ed, as a kid, but the tools at the disposal of the internet were simply not available. Okay, so you know that all Wolverine has to do is like stab this motherfucker in the heart, right? You know all he has to do is slash off the tentacle or lure him, you know. That is a great, great toy. As part of its HasLab crowdfunding platform, Hasbro has revealed designs for this huge motherfucking beast. Hopefully all this isn't porn. Okay, look at this. Look at this motherfucker. 26.34 inches. Fully posable. Fuck you, Wolverine. Okay. This is much bigger than its predecessor, which looks like it has a Joker smile. Has like a piece of shit little bullshit Tony Stark on it. The head comes off. Okay, he's posable. He has Mega Man legs. He has the Mega Man pose. Look at that. So this is the kind of stuff like the 2-scale things that we wish we had when we were kids. And I would actually say that Hasbro, recognizing that there is a market for this kind of shit for adult fans, you know, for years, people, the 40 white male demographic, who, by the way, has the spending capital, has been denigrated and downsized and downplayed and lied to and made fun of. But something like this says, okay, we learned our lesson. Check this out. And it doesn't have to be Wolverine. Wolverine's my favorite guy, obviously. Fucking throw Scott Summers in there. Throw Nightcrawler in there. Throw Colossus in there. Colossus, the breakout star of Deadpool. Deadpool was funny as fuck, but Colossus made him that way. Lordy, lordy. All right, my friends. We are about to break into some high geekness and some of the topics that you might have seen trending upon other Fandom Menace channels. Before we do that, let's go ahead and raise our drinks high. We want to say, that's the wrong button. No, we want to say, hail to the chat, hail to the Fandom Menace. I'm drinking Irish Death. I don't give a shit what you're drinking, but raise it up. Here's to us what's like us. Not a goddamn thing. Now going back to the chat, we got Stony Wan Kenobi. Hail, Stony Wan. Thank you for joining us on this magnificent day. Thank you for joining my distinguished group of savages. Every man that you see among here is a savage. And every woman who is listening after the fact loves savages. And she might be a savage herself. You never know. Ask your balls in the middle of the night. We don't know. Okay. We got a couple of these oddball stories. I got two of them spaced out. And this is like some shit that if you'd rather tune into I don't know, Nerdrotic or a Mecha Random, they probably will explain this better. This is just the savage perspective on this. We have this show, this animated, I don't know, expensive Korean ink that we will call Star Trek: The Lower Gates, or The Lower Decks. I want to say Gates because of Gates McFadden. But this thing obviously is like a, what is this? It's an Enterprise D. The saucer section and the nacelles, they're a little bit different. The deflector dish looks the same, probably. The ass end of the lower hull looks the same, but aside from that, what do we think about this animation style? Okay. Looks familiar, doesn't it? 3 years ago. Looks pretty familiar. What we find from the production notes is that this was designed by one of the creative elements behind Rick and Morty, and it's just 25% different enough that it avoids litigation, doesn't it? So we can tell by the design of the ship that this is supposed to be the next generation era TNG. We can see the phaser banks. Okay, this is probably where the energy beam comes from that reawakens the entity on the first contact voyage of 1701. This right here is a clear TOS buzzard ramjet hydrogen collector, which if you have read the technical manuals, you know that these are the things that scoop up the interstellar medium, drive the warp drive, and create heavier atomic elements, right, for replicator purposes. Brad, I don't blame you. I'll wait to hear back from Stephen Walton on the Lower Decks. Yeah, if you don't want to be spoiled by my vitriol, go ahead and mute the channel. Be sure that you share it and like it before you mute it. But seriously, man, this is some weird shit. So we have Ensign Mariner, we have Ensign Boimler, we have Ensign Tendi, and then we have fake Geordie LaForge, Ensign Rutherford. Okay, so Geordie, if you remember, he wore like a banana clip in front of his face, which interpreted the entire EM spectrum. Ensign Rutherford apparently has like half a Borg implant. I don't know. I don't know. For copyright reasons, I cannot show the official trailer. But if you look up here, you see like celebritynewsy.com, Star Trek Lower Decks. The first trailer is about a minute and a half long at best. It's not very... how do I explain this? It's not very entertaining. It teases enough that you're kind of like, oh, okay, that's a show. That's a thing. Okay. But if you watch Nerdrotics, his video in particular really goes at the like and dislike ratio. And you know from previous Star Trek trailers that the studios are very, they have a big hard-on for Russian robots and misogynists and people who are just like hateful towards the I think that the Fandom Menace in particular, we're very open-minded people whose demands are very simple. And I don't care if you don't even identify with the Fandom Menace. If you're Fandom Menace adjacent, or you used to be in the Fandom Menace, or you just know people who are, and you don't even want to fucking wear the flag. And the only thing that we want is quality storytelling and honor the mythology of the shit that came before. Fuck your politics. Okay? There's a way to tell political stories outside of waving the flag and putting the thumb on your opposition. Just like there's a way to write something inspiring that might incorporate elements of something you disagree with. And perhaps the irreconcilable qualities of each is what poses the final question at the end of the show. You know, some things aren't meant to get along. Some things are just meant to be yin and yang. The viewer is supposed to be in the middle. I don't know what Lower Decks is going to encompass, honestly. It looks like it's supposed to be like a goofy kind of parody show. It looks like it wants us to put on Star Trek glasses and just laugh at boner jokes on the holodeck. What, like this is like Futurama, Rick and Morty? Does it want us to Jesus. Is this the kind of thing that's actually trying to take us away from the seriousness of the in-depth analysis of the current day modern political spectrum that's so hard on the cerebrums of modern day thinkers? The obstacles in our way of getting to Mars through the SpaceX program? Is this the reason that the ice sheet in Antarctica is melting? Is it because we're just so unable to accept that Jean-Luc Picard would stop being Luke Skywalker and fuck off to Otto and become an android? Yeah. Well, whatever becomes of this, it's going to start in August. Okay. This is one of those things that if you're into the Fandom Menace and you're or into the adjacent channels, even if you don't want to subscribe to that, there's going to be plenty of people reviewing this thing episode by episode. I'm probably going to go like how I went on the season 7 of the Clone Wars and just kind of do story arcs. But that's later to come. So, yeah. The Lower Decks. The Lower Decks was actually a Star Trek The Next Generation episode. I don't know if you guys remember this. The Lower Decks was the one where there was a female Bajoran who was under the command of Lieutenant Worf. And she was being put through some sort of, geez, what was it? It was like a rank test. Like she was trying to make lieutenant or Lieutenant JG, something weird like that. And Lieutenant Worf kept on beating her ass because he knew that she was stronger than that. And Klingons, of course, respect strength, and they respect people who will stick their nose in their commander's face within a reason. But she ended up dying on an away mission, and she would go and play poker with her her buddies who were the same pay grade that she was, and who are all actually hoping to achieve rank. But she was awarded it posthumously, and one of her buddies was given it in her stead. And it's just one of those things. Like, I don't know if you're still listening, Shelley. Shellback was in the Navy. I can't say that he's known people like that, but it's just one of those things. Like you want something and you can't always get it. When you earn it, you might have forfeit your life. And a lot of people who don't deserve it get it because they're in the right position. They know the right people. I don't know. And I don't even want to say that Shelley can speak to that point. It's just one of those things. So, going to go ahead and tip another one back. Irish Death. Go ahead and drink whatever you want. Okay. Brandon Brad. Yeah, she was a blonde woman. She was Bajoran. The scene that I really remember from the Lower Decks from TNG was and now that we're talking about this, I can't find a good image of her. She's just like always from the back, from the side. This is probably going to be the best one right here. She is this young lady right here. You can see her to the Ride of the Vulcan. The one that I remember her from, Brad, was she was doing Klingon judo with Worf, and they were in their I don't know, their thermal gis, their judo pajamas, something like that. And Worf kept on like beating her ass with like an illegal move, and she got so pissed off that she was like, "Hey, Worf, fuck you. That move's illegal." And he goes, "Well, how long were you going to wait until you told me that? Maybe you shouldn't fucking blah, blah, blah when this and that happens on the bridge that I saw you do earlier," which was bullshit. Now I'm completely paraphrasing that, of course. If Worf ever said bullshit, I would buy him a tall glass of prune juice. Yeah, Worf doesn't drink whiskey. He drinks prune juice. Okay. Anyway, that's some funny shit. So we're going to go on to perhaps my favorite article of the week. Now, it's one of these things where, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm not creating content on YouTube, I'm trying to talk with my friends and talk with fellow content creators and all that kind of shit. But I was talking with my friend, author Stephen Walton, and my other friend, Final Death Star, and they were talking about this article about Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan Disney Plus show, and the possibility that perhaps, just maybe, Hayden Christensen might be in the show. All right, we're going to get him out of here because Hayden Christensen, despite rumors, is not a blonde woman. He's not. He's not a blonde woman. He hates sand. He's not a blonde woman. This thing kind of got my brain firing. Like the way that they set this up is like, Hayden Christensen, he's like in talks, and like Obi-Wan's on fucking Tatooine, and Hayden Christensen's there, and maybe he's facing nightmares. Maybe he's having a hard time dealing with the demise of Anakin. And you have to assume that, geez, I don't know, you guys. Like, there's a couple ways that they could handle an Obi-Wan show well. And I want to say that they should do it like kind of in the way that they did. Oh, I don't know. True Detective, where like each season is its own story, but each season, as opposed to True Detective, one season tells one story, and it ages Obi-Wan in a specific way. But that's not to say that each season cannot take place on different points in Obi-Wan's timeline. Nor is it one of those things where Obi-Wan is the main focus of the screen. It's just like characters adjacent to him, or characters who affect his circumstance on Tatooine without him ever realizing it. There's also that instance where he should save Luke Skywalker from threats that he doesn't even realize are there. Maybe the Lars family owes somebody money, and they're going to come and kidnap Luke. Obi-Wan's like, fuck no. You don't even see him. He's just like a phantom in the dark. but Hayden Christensen. Okay. Hayden motherfucking Christensen. What is the best use of him? Okay. I know how I would use him. Greetings, Tommy. The hardest working mod in the Fandom Menace. Easily mod to 975,000 channels. That's how rapidly guinea pigs reproduce. Tommy, good to see you again, sir. We are talking currently about the possibility of Hayden Christensen returning to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series in development by the Disney Plus show. Okay, now I think 90% of people reading this Screen Rant article by Chris Adar 7 hours ago is thinking that it's going to be something kind of like this. Like, you know, Obi-Wan's having a flashback thing. He's having PTSD. He's having some sort of, oh my God, Anakin's fallen to the deep black pits of the dark side. And, if only I was there for him, or if only I realized like him and Padme were doing the force assisted, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, I would be open to something like that, but what I would really like to see is something like this. I want to see Hayden Christensen as the quadriplegic, cybernetically enhanced horror victim inside the fucking Bacta tank. Just like we saw in Rogue One. Now we saw some fucking body double that was not Hayden Christensen. But Hayden Christensen, and we're talking like 20 years after the fact. This is a motherfucker who has had time to think about the role, had time to see other interpretations, had time to see comic books, read pulp paperback books, and come up with his own interpretation of this motherfucker. I tried to come up with an image that had yellow Sith eyes, but I couldn't. This is the best I could find that wasn't another YouTube thumbnail. But could you imagine this? Could you imagine? And I'm not saying like this is some sort of like, like at the end of Empire when it's like, Luke, come with me. And Luke's like, Father. I don't think that Ben and, by this point it would be Ben and Vader would have this sort of connection. I think that Ben is concealing himself in the light side, and Anakin Vader is so immersed in the dark side that the possibility of communication is not. What I would like to see is something like some way that Vader could touch the Obi-Wan story without disturbing the events between Rogue One, the Maul, Obi-Wan meeting in Rebels, and Episode 4. Maybe Vader feels something in the Force. I don't know. That's up to the writers to decide. If I was on the writing table, I would throw that idea out. I would slap it down on the table like the big dick that it should be, and hope that the table of women that Kathleen Kennedy hired was on a different project, and I was talking to Jon Favreau and David Filoni. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I am probably rattle enough jewelry. So I got one last thing to talk about, and then I'll hop off your jocks about that. I want to thank the 3 people watching me live, and I also want to thank the all the savages out there. I typically get between 35 and 40 likes and views on the aftermath, like the next day, because I realize, look, it's 7:36 Pacific Standard Time, July 15th, 2020. Okay, I know you got kids, I know you got jobs, I know you got mouths to feed. I know you got to take a shit. I know you got to, do whatever. But I also know that if you're in a job where you can listen to the radio, you have many, 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 many choices. You can listen to that same song you've heard 25,000 times over the last 25 years. You can search for the thing that your best friend says was the next best thing. Or you can indulge your savage side and listen to the savage perspective. It's always my pleasure. So the last thing that we have to serve to you guys, this is a kind of along the similar vein, the Bad Batch. If you remember, see, I'm gonna try to find. I don't know if this is gonna show up as a searchable thing. Yep, I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. If you guys remember, I did this thing on my channel not too long ago. Not too long ago. My channel. Should have had this set up better. But if I go to videos. This is so long ago. It's a trip. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. If you guys remember. The center one. The Bad Batch arc. Okay. This was 3 months ago. And criminally, I only have 29 views on this. I'm counting on you guys to go ahead and watch this back. David Filoni and the Lucasfilm team, and this was like what 10, 12 years ago when this shit was first dropped. The Bad Batch was something that they cooked up to be what it's coming out to be now. Now, the Bad Batch was a group of clones who came out fucky, but fucky in a good way, like a good fucky. It's not the bad fucky that's like 2 pumps and then you're done. No. This is the good fucky. The Bad Batch was born with genetic aberrations that distinguish them from other clone troopers. So they don't look like Jango Fett. They look more like Max Headroom. They look more like Charlie Sheen. They look more like the Juggernaut bitch. But they were given 4 episodes to show who the fuck they are and get their ass saved by Anakin Skywalker at the absolute limit of the nut hair growth, right? But now Disney has seen fit, or perhaps Dave Filoni's clout has assured them a possibility of having their own show. But it's also one of these things, and I have to thank Mecha 42 for suggesting this, is that it's safer in a COVID-19 sense to create a computer-generated show than it is to assemble a team and create backgrounds and hire people to feed people and cough on people and wipe their asses and honey buckets and all that kind of shit. So Star Wars: The Bad Batch. Yes, Tommy, that's the full extension batch. It is. It's the extendo batch. Okay, so just when you thought the Clone Wars were over, these pesky clones are attacking all over again. Lucasfilm confirmed that the best animated Star Wars TV series is a direct spinoff from the final season of the Clone Wars. So, okay, that's the introductory kind of like, oh my God, this next thing's going to happen. The Bad Batch will fix the Star Wars canon in 3 crucial ways. And this is the main thrust of the article. So we're going to go ahead and thrust. So the third most way is that they're going to explore how the Republic became the Empire. Okay, so yeah, read all this on your own time. But what it's saying is that these guys came about as a special forces team in the last like fucking month before Vader fell to the dark side and did all his shit. So they find themselves from being useful to being outside of the grid system. And because they don't look like Jango Fett, they're probably going to be able to blend in better and deal with Empire restrictions and regulations. But if they chose to go AWOL, do it mostly anonymously. But you realize if you watch the episodes in question that these guys have very particular personalities. So how would that play out? And then watch Solo. That's bullshit. Okay. More about the crime syndicates. Okay. The full extension batch. Thank you, Tommy. If they survive into the Empire era, they are likely going to have to deal with Crimson Dawn. And they're going to have to deal with coaxium, whatever the fuck that is. And they're going to have to realize that Baby Yoda is something that is worth a lot of money. But before they can get Baby Yoda back to Gardulla the Hutt or whoever the fuck is looking for it, Baby Yoda is going to be taken into the Veil of the Force and transported 1,000 years back in time to grow up to be actual Yoda. Oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God. And then Stormtroopers and the clones. Okay. This is probably the best way of using the Bad Batch. Is how the clones were phased out because they obviously had only, like 20, 25-year lifespans. And then other human race people taking over for the enforcers of the Empire, and becoming the stormtroopers that lovingly bash their heads on opening hatches everywhere. Okay. Those are good premises, but are they good enough to warrant the Clone Wars lasted 7 seasons. I can't see this thing lasting beyond 1 season. I actually, to be honest, I couldn't see Obi-Wan lasting longer than a season. If the stories were told right, Obi-Wan could last 1 season and have, I don't know, 12 to 18 episodes that spanned his entire life from dropping off the Luke Skywalker to the Lars homestead and having that forced sense that Luke is in trouble because he fucked around with Tusken Raiders and needs his ass wiped. Yeah, it's trippy shit. It's very, very, very trippy shit. Well, my fellow savages, we are coming around to 7:47 on the 15th of July, 2020, relative to Pacific Standard Time. Want to go ahead and bust out the live camera one more time. Lift your drinks high. Respect one another. What does world class say? Be excellent, blah, blah, blah. And we will see you next time, my friend.